There's YouTube. Hello, Facebook. And here's the audio. Ladles and jelly spoons. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Truth, Love, and Peace. I am sitting in the car in front of the Blind Mule, and with me today is Jayde Greene.
Yeah,
thanks.
hey, what's
dude.
up, man?
Glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
And I've been sitting here laughing at how funny it is that it takes me forever to get this set up, and so it's always an awkward start to a conversation because we've been talking for like 20 minutes. But
yeah, I ran through everything. That was it.
Yeah, so sorry y'all missed the episode. We're out.
It was a good one.
Things to talk about. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, so audio. It looks like we had some technical difficulties at the not technical difficulties. Operator error is more accurate.
Yeah.
So if I seem a little paranoid, it's because I am just looking and making sure all of these are on. So thanks for joining us in Facebook land. We're glad to have you. Feel free to say, hey, we can see the comments sometimes if we're quick enough. And so yeah, now just settle down. We're going to do a podcast. Whew, wow. Just looking around. I keep being distracted by the boobs on the sphinxes up there because we are at the illustrious Blind Mule, and across the street from us.
They actually have like the paint's been chipped away where the nipples should be from, I assume, like different people over years and years playing with it.
Just constantly messing with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the Masonic temple, right?
Yeah, it's something to do with like masonry, that kind of thing.
Weird.
You know, I tried to sell my soul to the devil in high school.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Because I was like kind of into like the Jay-Z, Beyonce, Illuminati stuff, and I was like, I would do that.
You look into that, yeah?
Yeah, that would be Jay-Z.
And
ended up emailing like Satan at soulstuff.com. They never got back to me. So I think.
It's unfortunate. I think he was too busy running for president.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, just to dive right into politics. Sorry,
Love
I got
it.
hung up on current events yesterday. We don't have to talk about current events at all. So some background for people who don't know that you're a stand-up comedian, and that's how we met. They do now,
Yeah.
which is good. But we met here at the Blind Mule.
Right.
And you said this is where you do comedy most often. And so the last time open mic we had here, we took a week off for 4th of July. So
Right.
the week before that was good. I love some of your newer stuff, man. It's fucking killer.
The last time I went up, I actually was. My goal was to just not open my book.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of a laid back night with like other comedians. I remember it's hard remembering like bits you want to do.
Yes.
I like doing. I make fun of like the Flash TV show.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's been on too long. Here, I looked up some stuff. The average American worker takes less vacation time than a medieval peasant.
Is this just random facts?
Yeah, I have like screenshots of different like.
Oh, like headlines that you've seen?
Yeah.
Is it fake news or are they reputable sources?
This is Business Insider. It's probably fake news. I don't trust anything.
It's all fake news now, isn't it? On some level?
You're just kind of gambling that the person you're telling it to doesn't want to look it up either, and that they agree with you.
I do not doubt in the slightest that people who work a 40-hour work week have way less time to themselves than people did once upon a time. I think that's part of the design of this particular version of civilization is that people need to be distracted. I think that comes from the separation of our natural condition, though. Like, the further we get from
I
nature.
Think, like, how are you going to work at night without a can? You need so many candles, right? Like, you don't even have, like, a light
you're screwed.
at night to work. You just have to, like, relax. Oh, you're 10 times more likely to be bitten by a New Yorker than you are a shark.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
I guess just there's so many people, and you get enough people that are going to bite people,
in New York. You're
Yeah.
10 times more likely to be bitten by a New Yorker. I like the one that says you are 10 times more likely to be crushed by a falling vending machine.
Yeah.
That was the old school version of that. I enjoyed that one a good bit.
That's crazy. Like, that many people, like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever, like, shaken a vending machine. It's only like $1 or $2 for something I didn't really need.
No, I think that's, what do they call that? When you put your anger on somebody else.
Projecting?
Yeah, I think that's projecting anger onto a vending machine.
That's a good way to win an argument. You're projecting.
I do that all the time.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, people don't like it much when you cut right to you're arguing with yourself and reality is not real.
Yeah.
It freaks them out. It usually doesn't get much good recall on Facebook either.
Do you feel like you enjoy an argument?
Sometimes, yes.
I enjoy, yeah. Not even like to win.
No.
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's just a bad argument like the whole way through. And no one's having fun. But I don't know, there's something about disagreeing with someone and then because it feels kind of passionate after a while. You normally don't get that with like small talk, I guess.
I know what you mean. I'm not a big fan of small talk either. I like challenging what I believe. I want to find out if I'm right, but not in a condescending way. Like, we all need to survive, and the more we know about this place that we've got to survive in, the better off we are.
It's like, I don't think I'm right, because I certainly don't research a lot of things. Sometimes I'm just talking. Like, I just found out that the saying is hard as hail, not hard as hell. Which makes a lot more sense, because hail is just hard rain.
Yeah.
But I grew up in the South, so I've heard it as hail. You're going to go to hail.
Which is slang for hell.
Yeah. But we throw in extra syllables everywhere.
Do you remember Mitch Hedberg's bit about the he took the O and the U out?
I don't actually.
Oh,
what was the bit?
Really
what
good.
Was the bit?
He goes through this whole thing about how Southern accents, all they're doing is it's cool to just take the O and the U out, and so he does this whole thing about my sp and the st in Mitch Hedberg style, and he's got all these alliterations that he just walks through, and it's all about his delivery and timing, and it's great.
Yeah, everything he does or did, I guess.
He was so good. So fucking good. Do you have any other favorite comedians before we...
Oh, yeah, if you want to geek out about comedians.
Yeah, because we were talking about it earlier. We were talking about somebody... You said somebody was... Hannibal Buress reference in there.
Oh, yeah, I was saying I think, like, Hannibal Buress is, like, a newer version of Tracy Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
I see, like, parallels. And, like, where they... Just kind of, like, you're not expecting it, kind of off-tempo kind of style. But my favorite comedians, I still like Louis C.K. I don't like everything that's happened.
Of course.
But I feel like he's more easily defended than other people.
Yeah, of all the creepy comedians, he's the one that...
Yeah, he asks a lot of questions, and I feel like it's a great bit, right? If he like waits a year, that'll be so funny.
Oh, when he comes back, because he definitely will come back.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't. Other people have done way worse. Not to defend, he is an incredible writer and he's a very talented comedian. And
yeah,
just because he's an asshole and a creepy bastard doesn't mean that he's not those things. Doesn't mean that he deserves. Why am I going on this tirade? It's not fucking necessary. Louis C.K., regardless of how you feel about him as a person, is a fucking hilarious comedian.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Yeah. Even Dave Chappelle got into that, and he was that's pretty funny. That reminds me of the comedians in cars. You were saying that Chappelle and Brennan were both on the new
collection,
and cars.
is what they call them.
Is that what it is now?
Yeah, it's not a season.
Oh.
It's a collection.
Collection. My ass. Start calling these collections of podcasts.
I love John Mulaney.
Mulaney's great.
He's so funny.
Super
He's so
funny.
weirdly relatable. Kind of like Carlin would do it more so, where it's just like so true. He would talk about like just weird things that I do that I don't talk about, and Mulaney will have like small lines in between stuff, where it's like, yes, yeah, we all do. I think one of my favorites is like, like a liar.
He is great at just so gently serving up the turn.
Yeah.
And his delivery is
Phenomenal.
yeah. Always good. Always good.
I think I heard Jon Stewart and Dave Chappelle are gonna tour.
Really?
Yeah.
That'd
I didn't
be
look into it.
hilarious.
Yeah, I hope it happens. I hope it's a thing.
That would be absolutely hilarious. I can't wait. I'd be super stoked about it. What would that even look like?
I don't know.
I've never seen Stewart do stand-up. Does he do stand-up?
It's how he got started.
Really?
Yeah. He got started with I'm not even sure. I know he's done stand-up, but I picture him in like a big like leather jacket, like 80s, 90s kind of stand-up. You ever seen the picture of they're comparing the NBA draft from like early 2000s, 90s to now? It's just like how different like a good suit looks. Because back then they're like...
Oh, because when the guys come out on stage and they're all decked out.
Yeah, now it's like kind of like skin tight. There's like a silhouette, and back then it was huge, right? It was just really baggy. That was like in.
And now
weird.
it's the opposite.
Yeah. You think fashion is cyclical?
Trends comes around, goes around. I think everything is cyclical.
I feel like we're getting back to like the 80s.
Yeah.
A cycle. Like music.
Or the 40s, if you think about it. Which politics, and which breaks down into generations. If 20 years is the prototypical generation, then 40 years is what it takes for that generation to exercise some kind of authority. And I remembered that from political analysis, that the parties, the party and ruling class, or the whatever the ruling party is, shifts every 40 years. It makes sense. It makes sense. I don't know how that justifies bell bottoms, but
yeah, but I'm sure given enough time, I'll wear some
sooner or later.
Yeah. Because
skinny jeans and all that good stuff, that's not new. Like somebody did that before, I'm sure.
Yeah. Especially fashion. Fashion feels cyclical. Music kind of does. More so now, I think, because like for a while you're like getting new technology, you're getting new sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But like the latest, like a lot of pop music to me lately has sounded more like stuff from the 80s. Like, thinking about like Bruno Mars, like his last album.
Yeah.
A lot of it sounded like Prince-y kind of. I don't know.
Well, there are only so many
chords and notes.
Yeah, which is fascinating because maybe we're coming to a point in history where we're able to do so many things now that we really are exhausting reasonable options. And so for us to this gets into Terence McKenna's time wave theory. It's so difficult for us to come up with something new that novelty has kind of gone out the window. And so there is this just scream of wanting to exit repetition that we're definitely in the middle of. Like, where's the original movie?
Yeah, and you're exposed to more now. Right? Like you have
so many more choices.
Like you have like memes that like rise and fall in like a week.
Yeah.
And then you have jokes on the internet that you couldn't understand unless you had been on the internet a week ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And that hasn't been a thing. It's a very new, like...
It happened to me 2 weeks ago. I went looking for a hashtag, like I didn't get a reference, and I was like, oh, I gotta go find this. I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
there's
a subreddit for that called Out of the Loop.
That's where I need to be.
Why are people talking about this guy? Why are people, like, talking about a car salesman slapping the roof? That's been a big one the last week.
Need to go find that one. I just keep getting flabbergasted by the police weaponizing. You know, all these, unfortunately, mostly white people using the cops as some kind of weapon against black people. Like the guy at the pool was the most recent one. And this is another part of that cyclical thing. I think we've come to this point in a cycle where the information age is starting to show its value. And we're having to call some of these people out.
My theory on that is that it's that's kind of always been happening, but now it's like you can't deny it, and we're all aware of it, right? Because we have body cameras.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like there have always been racist cops.
Yeah.
And good cops, but now you're aware. Like you don't get away with stuff anymore.
The example that I've heard, and I've thought a lot about this lately, you know, the lies that we all go along with in our daily lives, and how thin those lines are. And the best example I've heard is, like, people putting alcohol in a brown paper bag. Like, just because it's in a brown paper bag, we all know what the fuck that is. But because it's in a brown paper bag, we have the opportunity to pretend like it's something else.
To look the other way.
Yeah. And so now that the paper bag is transparent, I almost said translucent. That's how fucked up I am today. But
it's hot.
Yeah, but because it's transparent, then all that goes out the window.
Yeah, you kind of are. Everyone's forced to look.
Yeah.
I guess into the bag.
Which we need more of, but that gets into the truth part. Like that's one of the reasons that I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of all the possible perspectives. It's like the comparison between lowercase t truth as experience and subjective versus objective truth, and how nobody can know everything.
Right.
Like no, but we can go and try. We can go and we can try. Well, I went off on my own little tangent in my head, but because I was thinking about the internet and people being crazy online. But then you have that gets right back to this generational thing where the changing of the guard is coming.
Right. Yeah, I feel that.
I hope anyway.
It has to. I mean, if you look at like they try to legalize pot, most of the people voting no are like over 60.
Yeah.
So that's presumably going to change, right?
Yeah.
Because they can't live forever currently.
It's one of the reasons that people advocated rewriting the Constitution every 20 years, not to change the intent and the spirit and the ideals.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be. I don't think it was designed for us to still be reading it. I think they assumed we would
move on.
Redo it, rewrite it, rethink things.
Well, Jefferson said every 19 years
we should form a
it should
thing,
be rewritten.
Right?
Yeah. I think that has largely to do with the idea of put the ideals and the spirit into their own terminology.
Right. It would eliminate a lot of like interpretive problems.
Yeah.
Especially like even language changes. Even if you just updated the language.
Yep.
I don't know if that would help. It would help me. I don't know. Like it's not, the Constitution isn't good toilet reading. You know what I mean? It's not like a Reader's Digest.
It's thick. It's very thick. It's more fun to read if you go back and get like Jefferson and Adams conversations about it after the fact. Like that's pretty fascinating.
Letters.
Yeah. That's pretty fascinating. Because some of those guys, I mean Jefferson in particular, being the author of most of that stuff, was an incredible wordsmith. Like if you take just the nuance and you take out some of the specifics, and he nails the philosophy of of the idea just so well. It's incredible to read some of the most intellectual shit coming from some of the most backwards, fucked up.
Yeah, the thing is, they're all super racist, right?
Yeah.
You like know that.
Yeah. Used the Bible to prop up racism and
Yeah.
slavery, and like the atrocities were horrific. Horrific.
It's weird.
Yeah, on
The whole
one
thing's super weird. The more I think about it, it's just
yeah,
yeah.
it's super weird. But then it kind of explains how and why we are so super weird as a culture now. Because Americans were born and bred out of the gene pool that says we'll take the risk to cross the ocean.
Yeah, this
For
is a
some-
theory I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all crazy people who think, yeah, I'll survive, I'll make it.
Yeah.
Like they really, and I think we all do a little bit. Everyone's like the main character
Mm-hmm.
in the novel in their head.
It's very American.
Yeah.
It's very American. I've been doing some research. The Shane Moss has a podcast called Here We Are, all science stuff. Awesome podcast. If you're into that kind of thing, and got me looking into bipolar and manic depression, because I was diagnosed as manic depressive before bipolar was trendy, and this was in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s when I was a kid. And so I've been running around with that for a really long time, and so doing some more research into that and looking around, it's like, okay, one, yes, it's easy for me to self-identify and then project all of my problems onto the world around me, but at the same time you step back and you go, this whole culture is kind of bred to make me this way. Like, this is not entirely...
Yeah,
like, we're definitely a product of our environment, and there's
Right.
a lot of capitalism that just wants us to be sociopaths. Needs us to be sociopaths in a lot of ways.
That's
Consumerism,
why
I think.
American Beauty is such a cool movie, because you watch it, and for the first bit, I want to be Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
I remember I hadn't ever watched the whole movie or read the book, and for a while I would just watch like the intro, the opening sequence. Like I do so many push-ups and I'm this and I've got a good job, and I would look up to it. I was like, I want to be Patrick Bateman.
Yeah.
And a couple years later, I finally watched the movie. I was like, oh, maybe not.
Swerve? Hadn't thought of that one in a hot minute.
Swerve is one of the first places I tried to do stand-up.
What is Swerve?
It's like a bar and grill in Atlanta. And
Do tell.
I was reading it as like Swerve, something like that. And I was going to school in Auburn, so I like drove for an hour, had a list of places, and I showed up there and no one was there. And it was really weird because it's like my first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in, they're like, welcome to Swerve. And I was like, oh no, because my jokes at that point were about the Gap and music of Ruby Tuesdays. They weren't great, and they were just kind of like, they just basically were like, you don't want to go up tonight. And I was like, okay. And I went to a different place. I still didn't go up. It was like Cat's Cafe. I was the only white guy for a little bit. And another white guy shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, do you want to be on the list? I was like, yeah, put me on the bottom. White guy goes up, and it's all not funny racial humor. Like low-hanging fruit. No one's going with it. And I chickened out.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not.
I can't imagine. Have yet to venture over to New Orleans or Atlanta, but I imagine it's some pretty.
And some
I've
people
heard.
were just murdered. Like, just incredibly funny. The
Yeah.
whole... And I was sitting there like, I don't like music and Ruby Tuesdays. I don't like Sheryl Crow. One of my punchlines only worked if I sang a Sheryl Crow song. Which,
That feels like that would be about what I ended up doing. I'd be terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified. I know. Like, what is that guy's deal?
Right.
And for those of you who can't see on camera, we just watched this guy give us the eye through his sunglasses.
He's got horizontal stripes on his polo, and he's got a gingham pattern on his pants.
Mm-hmm.
Or cargo shorts.
Flip-flops.
Light blue flip-flops.
I really enjoy my flip-flops, but I am more and more self-conscious about wearing them in public.
Is it why? Because of the noise?
The noise.
Yeah, the fuck.
Yep.
I'm a big
noise.
Chaco guy.
I need to look into that.
Everyone in Auburn
Yeah.
loved Chaco, so I got on that train. Still on that train.
And I wore Crocs for years.
Really?
And I've thought about going back because it's so comfortable. But they're so bad for your feet.
Yeah. It can't be good.
No, they're not good. They're fun. They're comfy when you're living at the beach and you need something to get in and out of. But when you wear all the tread off on the bottom, they become uber slick.
Oh, yeah.
I busted my ass so many times.
That's why it freaks me. People that work in kitchens sometimes wear Crocs
They make a special kind with
that are non-slip.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
have the right kind of soles for idiots like me. I would prefer to be barefoot. I don't know if you remember those Vibram 5.
Yeah, my dad had some.
Yeah, I like those. Those are nice.
I was friends with a kid in college who just went no shoes.
That's where I want to be.
He went no shoes, and then we were in a wedding together like a year ago, and he had to wear the shoes, and they were not made for comfort. They were like, we all bought them for cheap, and he was like, my knees hurt, my thighs hurt, like everything hurt him.
Yeah, I'll bet. That's horrible. I would much rather go barefoot, like that guy Cody Lundeen from that survival show. Dual Survival was the name of it, and this Cody Lundeen, he's been walking around barefoot for like 30 years, has this ridiculous like inch-thick calluses on the bottom of his feet.
Yeah.
But imagine how well-grounded that guy is. Like, they came out with earthing, and Cody's sitting there going, 30 years, man!
I have weak feet. Even like as a kid, never touched grass. I didn't touch grass with my bare foot for like 12 years.
How's that even possible? How'd you pull that off?
I don't know. My dad is kind of the same way, and then he has plantar fasciitis.
Yeah.
So the first time I really touched grass, he was like, he had been reading about it, and he was like, I'm gonna go to a soccer field, just walk on the grass. It was kind of sad because it's like two guys afraid to touch. Each step is like needles, but it's just grass. If you're watching this.
That needs to be a bit.
Yeah.
Two guys, their first time in grass.
It doesn't feel good. You would think it would be like...
Oh, no, it doesn't feel good because it cuts you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, grass has these sharp little edges, and so it's why you itch if you go roll in the grass.
Yeah.
Because you get all cut up. And plants are assholes, man. I don't know.
They really are.
Yeah. Plants kill things. Plants commit murder. Just straight up murder. And that's not just in an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Fucked up that reference. Not funny. Look at that. Those orange shoes. Her feet are way brighter than the rest of her outfit.
Yeah.
Gets my attention.
I've been doing I wear these pants constantly.
Yeah?
These are pretty much my only pair of pants.
How many pants do you really need? Like, one to wear and one to wear while you're washing the other pair.
Yeah, maybe some to work out in. And all my shirts are just like, everything I wear, I feel like, got the black jeans, and then gray, black, or white, and then these shoes, and they're white.
So you have the CEO's uniform now, you just need to be a CEO.
Right, I look successful.
What are you a CEO of, Jake? I'm sure you're holding out on us. You've got the uniform.
Yeah, I look like I should know something more about computers. I got an internship at one point, and I knew nothing. Literally, I didn't take it because he was like, yeah, we have someone already working as a programmer, but if you want to come on, it was for like a startup. And I was like, yeah, that night. I didn't do it. Part of me thinks I could have lied my way through it.
I'll bet you could.
Like Google or Stack Overflowed, just everything for a while.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could. Just being, I think that's something that comedians, not all comedians, have in common. Well, I think so. Being able to get on stage and execute a joke, no matter the toll it takes on you, still requires a certain amount of, because there's so many people that never get over that.
Right.
And so that being able to do that in front of an audience, I think, makes the rest of that easier.
I think you have to be able to handle rejection, and you have to. Carson and I talked about this one time. I forget. There's a comedian who had talked about it. About like if you want to do stand up, you're basically insane, but that's not the word he used. You're can't think of it. You're a crazy person to think it would work out, but
Because it's impossible.
Yeah. But that's if you're doing stand up, you kind of have to be a crazy person who thinks it'll work out.
Put that in the back of your head. Let it go. It's one of the things that I enjoy about it, though, that it is so difficult. And it's something that I've been doing for a long time. You know, I used to say that stand-up comedy was the last great bastion of the art of the spoken word.
Right, like a coffee house
Yeah.
in old school France kind of thing.
Yeah, because I had the idea of Plato or these guys standing around giving lectures and you know in the amphitheaters. Yeah. And so it seemed like Carlin was the guy at the time that that was on top. And looking at him, it was definitely like, oh, like that dude is just spitting truth.
Yeah, I get upset watching him.
Yeah.
Because he's so good. You know, it's like every line is super cut to the bone, funny, relatable. Yeah. He's like top tier to me.
Yeah.
To a point that it seems really hard to reach. Or
Yeah.
match or even like steal from his style. Because you would just need so much that works.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would take to... Because you're right, like every line.
Yeah.
And then to do... It still blows me away that he was doing a new hour. And that people do a new hour every year. It's like,
Yeah,
holy
right?
shit! I mean, granted, he had been doing it a long time and was at the top of his game and all that good stuff, but still, I can't even imagine how much repetition... Or maybe that's the thing. You get to the point where you don't have to do the repetition.
You can critique it
Yeah.
as you go. You know what works.
And so everything just becomes faster.
I hope so.
It's still impressive, though. It's
insane. Yeah.
really impressive. Just trying to write like one new joke a week. I can't do that.
So, yeah, one
I
that'll
can't
work,
do it.
one
Yeah.
that I feel confident in, absolutely not.
Can't do it. Not there yet. It's fun to keep trying, but man, it makes you look at the rest
What's
of
your
it.
writing
Oh,
process?
shit. I got my little whiteboard.
Okay.
And I'll write something down, and then I'll take a picture of it, and I'll scrap it, and then I've got pictures of stuff that hasn't made it into the book yet. But what I do is I'll write down what I think is the punchline or the tag, like whatever reminds me of that joke, and I would keep all of them and keep them all in one place and try and get an idea of how much time I had. That was the bulk of it. Like I would go through and write them out a little bit, but I would get on stage and elaborate them. Since a couple weeks ago, I guess since last week, I was having a conversation with Tony Burkett, you know, Back Porch Comedy.
Yeah.
I was talking to Tony and picking his brain, and something I took away from our conversation was just going back and really visiting the word for word, write and execution. You know, write, rehearse, and execute verbatim.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been focusing on is not just trimming the fat, but whittling something down to where it's exactly the same every time I say it. Unless it's
that's
very...
just good science. You know, you want to repeat the experiment as close as possible. 'Cause sometimes I've had, I want a bit about Tinder, and sometimes, like here, the crowd just, it feels like they don't go with me at all. And it's really hard to work on a bit like that. But I don't want to throw it away, because it could be the crowd. In the same way for a different crowd.
Yeah, and it's just, it's something I've neglected for too long. You know, I've known for a long time that I needed to focus on that, and so now I am. That's where I'm at, is one step at a time. But I've only been doing comedy for about a year. You said you started in Auburn, so that's been at least a couple of years.
Yeah, I really didn't like dive in until like a year ago.
Yeah?
Okay. In any point. Yeah. And the way I do it right now is I have like my journal, and I have like, I keep track of what I'm doing, so I can see, like, I can look back and be like, oh, I've been here before with like my life and stuff. And then on the other page, I just have spitballs, things I think are funny articles, and I'll just write those down, not even jokes. And then once a week, I'll sit down and go through all those and try to like free write with them and try to like expand them. And I need to figure something new out. It feels like I just make a lot of fat this way. Just a lot of stuff that I'm not gonna get to use, or that's just not funny, or like not even stand up.
Yeah. Stories, like breaking up hosting and being engaging and captivating versus being comedian, punchline, funny.
Yeah.
I'm learning to go back and forth between those two things, or try and make them the same, because it's really hard. Like, that's something that's hard for me.
I've never really had to do it, but it seems hard, because
what
were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, it speaks to getting in that headspace of having to tell a joke properly. Like, it's not the kind of thing you just throw in off the hip to tell a good, well-structured joke.
I do like anytime I have a new joke that I feel like is working. It's a very good feeling.
Yeah.
It's like a new weapon. Or like a Batman utility belt kind of thing. Like, I have a batarang now.
That's good. That's
and
a
then
really good analogy.
The opposite end of that, sometimes I'll have a joke that I think is funny.
Yeah.
That I guess isn't. Like, it never works. And then another thing is sometimes I have a joke that's like a throwaway, and people are like, I like that line.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I guess I'll keep that one.
Well, and then that goes back to what you were saying earlier, being able to repeat the experiment and find out what it is. Is it a timing thing? Is it that word? Is it...
Yeah. It's a big experiment.
It's fun, though. There's not...
Yeah, it's super enjoyable.
Yeah, of all the things I've ever done, none have been as exhilarating as doing stand-up. Like, I never, not even in martial arts or sports or anything.
Also, just like, I like other comedians, you know.
Yes.
I normally get along, at least for a couple hours, with any comedian. It's not true for any person, I found, more and more.
What do you think that's due to?
I think it's comedians are all coming to the circle with a very similar goal, to make the other comedians laugh.
Yeah.
So there's less like thinking and like, you know, like, what does this person really want, or like, what is their deal, or they're trying to sell me something. Any, like, you don't really have to have any of those thoughts. You kind of are just trying to be funny and interesting. And there's no small talk. I think that's huge.
There's
you go. No small talk. That's my favorite part, actually. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Indeed. Because there's something about knowing how to connect with other people that cuts through all the bullshit. Like, you have to understand that to be able to make people laugh. And so you can't Small talk is just a waste of fucking time when you think on that level. I'm so with you.
I'm not even good at it.
I'm allergic to it. It makes me itch.
I don't like it. I'm bad at it.
It's a waste of time. Oh yeah, small talk. No, not my cup of tea. And people look at me sideways when I just drop bombs on conversations. Like, oh, it's either like, well, what do you think of quantum mechanics, or I'm bored and I'm walking off. Like, I do not, and don't narrate to me. Oh my God. If you're going to tell me a story and you have to walk me through the entire, everything that happened in that 15 minutes.
Oh, you're not like editing?
Oh shit.
That one's bad.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. And then he said, and then she said, and then and a half hour later, it's like that scene in the IT crowd. It's like, oh, a 20-minute story about cheese. Yeah. Dick. Made me listen to that whole thing.
Stories without an ending that are going nowhere, which I'm guilty. Sometimes I'll launch in.
Sure.
Because it's like, it's my turn to talk.
But social cues.
Yeah, also stop.
Is that right?
Well, I don't know.
Some people. Social cues, man. Social cues.
I don't get it. I don't get small talk. Or a lot of social cues, I guess. Or I'm trying too hard to catch them. I'm catching things that are not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I overthink that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly.
All the time. So here's a new thought.
Okay.
Let's go hardcore left turn philosophical. Because I think small talk, in a way, is just inane, the low hum of white noise, what's going on in people's
I'm uncomfortable with silence.
Yes.
Right.
So the opposite of that would be self-awareness, but on a meta level. And so with something that came up yesterday, we were talking about, when you're an investigator and you're learning to follow people, one of the first things they tell you is don't stare at them. Because people know when you're staring at them.
Right.
Rupert Sheldrake did the research and all that good stuff. So I think what's going on there, and this is what I would love to get your opinion on, is that in those moments, just like when the collective consciousness focuses in on something and changes the random number generator's behavior, that the thing that is impacting that is this field of consciousness, and the reason that it's impacting it is because in those moments, it's becoming ultra self-aware. It's becoming self-aware because you're seeing yourself in someone else's mind, and that's what triggers the somebody's looking at me thing. And in that moment, consciousness, not self-ego, personal consciousness, the consciousness that pervades everything. Yeah, it sees itself, and so you get this immediate little feedback loop. And so those are the peaks of when consciousness pokes through. A new thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. What do you think? Do you have a deja vu theory?
Couple. One.
This is one of my favorite things.
Okay. So, cool. It's a cool phenomenon. First off, I think one, cyclical. So, as things are repeated, even if the circumstance is somewhat disparate, like if 3 things happened in front of us right now and I'd seen all 3 of those things happen before, but never at the same time, that's kind of a form of deja vu because my brain finds similarity in that to some degree.
Okay.
Another version would be the tapping into the collective consciousness and some real form of telepathy, which we know that there are versions of it.
You feel like you're reliving it because you're tapping into someone else who's had something similar?
I think that's more empathetic. What I'm talking about is actually being in a flow state.
Okay.
Like if you're in a flow state and things are moving and you're just taking it in, like not stopping to think about it, that in those moments when we disassociate ourselves from time to a certain extent. And another possibility, I think, could be the way that our brain works as a role-playing machine, that people who are active, highly active thinkers, problem solvers will create scenarios, just like in what some people claim the dream process is for, is just to play out all the scenarios that you go through, defrag the brain, play out all the possible scenarios, so when you come across something in real life, you have some experience on how to respond if you have to respond in a split second to save your life.
Okay, it's just like making things less novel.
Yeah, exactly. So those would be three, I guess, popular, like, way up there answers. If I had to go into, like, my personal spiritual, or, like, what I come from energetically, I would say it's going to look something along the lines of electromagnetism, chakras, and chi. The answer's going to be somewhere right in there.
I like, my favorite one's the dream thing.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it like feels like to me. And like my perspective is, it feels like I have a very distant memory of this, and it feels like a dream I had and forgot about. Especially if it's weird.
Which that could be...
Or sometimes I think about, this doesn't have a basis, but it's also just kind of how I feel, is like I've moved back, I'm redoing something. Suddenly I become hyper aware that it's happened, and I need to like shift, like go the different way, like fight against what I would have done last time to do something differently. It's like, feels like a second chance almost sometimes.
So that's very much from a meta perspective, from a much bigger perspective, looking down and karma, reincarnation, the potential for past lives, which there's all kinds of great evidence to support that now. People that don't like entertaining the idea, there's lots of stuff that you can read that is good information. But like you said, having the opportunity to redo something. So deja vu is this moment where this meta consciousness is saying, hey, this is, pay attention.
Yeah, a moment of insight.
Yeah.
It's like a satori, moment of insight, clarity, where you really get a chance to think about it.
Yeah.
Time kind of slows down because you know it's coming. Or not. I have no idea.
Or it's a
what
glitch
it
in the
is.
matrix.
Yeah, something like that. We're all
some
in,
bullshit.
There's some Elon Musk interview where it's my favorite one ever. He's just got these huge, just thick bags under his eyes, and he's on like some British, like morning-ish kind of show, and he's talking about a paper that was written about if we're in a simulation, most likely, because eventually we'll probably be able to make a simulation that's recreating what we're doing right now, and then how likely is it that we're the first people to do that? It's way more likely that someone else did that, and we're in that, and it just keeps going. And he said something horrible. It's like, at the very end of it, they're like, what do you think it is? Well, he goes, well, I think either we're living in a simulation, or the world will end in like 50 years, something like that. And then you just go, oh, okay. We'll be right back. It's like, oh my God. It's like not what they wanted. And he's got the bags. He looks worried for everyone.
Oh, poor Elon. You know, poor Elon, nothing. I wish I had a Tesla. That's, it's interesting though, because in a way, we're the most evolved potential for the simulation, because wouldn't technology move towards organic anyway? That's where we're all headed. We're looking, even the best of technology is trying to find a way to integrate with
we're
biology.
Trying to make organs and stuff like that too.
Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me a bit. I think the holographic universe is, there has to be a lot to that, because we know we are so bound by our senses.
Yeah. It's really, sometimes it feels like it's all you have, but then everyone feels like they have that little bit of extra.
And if you're American, you're especially delusional, because it's manifest destiny.
Yeah. You're going to make it. That's why you don't raise taxes. That's why we don't have, like, inheritance tax.
Right.
Because everyone thinks they're going to get rich, and then they don't want their money taken away when they give it.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is not benefiting you.
No, never does. The American dream that like 1% of the population achieves, like
Yeah.
actually pulling yourself up from your bootstraps and becoming the next Oprah or whatever. So rare. So rare. Which is unfortunate, because if we paid people appropriately, then
Right.
people who did real work, like 40 hours worth of work in the Alabama heat every week, would not be scraping for pennies. And there would be some equity in the world. But we can't have that bullshit, apparently.
This is something I think about a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? So there was a certain point in history where we were doing a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get technology, and now the factories are better, stuff like that, and there becomes like this movement of leisure, right, in the country, and we start playing tennis and golf. It's where all that comes from, right, because we're doing less work. And now I think in a few years or a few decades, something really similar will happen, because you'll have, like, who's going to need to work in the McDonald's, right? There's a really popular sushi restaurant in Japan that runs with one person working. It's a conveyor belt.
Cool.
Right? And there are already McDonald's that are kind of similar. So what in like place of golf and leisure, right? It's going to be people with free time and not they can't get a job. So I think that'll lead to universal like basic income, because they still need to spend money, right? We all have to spend money or everything falls apart. If everyone stops spending money, everything stops. But I don't know what we're all gonna do. I assume I'm in that kind of group of, now what? You know, do I golf every day, or like get paid to watch certain content? Is a way I could see it going. Almost like pay to get brainwashed, maybe.
I could somebody's paying for it out there somewhere. I think one of the things that we'll end up doing, well, universal basic income, there's a presidential candidate running in 2020 on universal basic income as the platform. 1.5 million or more truckers potentially out of work. Like it's coming down the pike.
Self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm. So, I think one of the answers to that is art. A lot more people will have the opportunity to try and become stand-up comedians,
right? Or YouTubers or content creators.
Yeah,
in a sense. And
that's one of the great explanations of UBI is that the goal is not to make people more lazy, but to give people just enough so that they can make the next step. So if you're in this bracket and you're stuck on this thing because you don't have enough to get up and over, it's just enough to get up and over so you can do or become the next whatever that is in Maslow's hierarchy of needs for you. Right. Which I think would be good. We need more creative people. Well, if we would just get the industry...
need an audience.
Well, I think there's always going to be an audience. I think Facebook showed us that. But free entertainment is ruining art and everything else. Because, one, nobody can afford entertainment because nobody makes any goddamn money anymore.
Right.
And two, there's so much free content out there that nobody wants to go pay for it. And so there's going to have to be this stripping out of the middleman at some point to where if everybody that was involved got a little bit more piece of the pie instead of some, CEO industry person, then everybody could survive a little bit easier. And I think that's where we're headed, where the industries will fall by the wayside and YouTube and Netflix and things like that are going to be the real wave of...
Where I think we're headed now is, on that line of thought, is a lot more things like YouTube, like content.
Yeah.
You're just going to have more people sitting, watching, bored.
Yeah.
Maybe people start working out more. Doubt it.
So that goes back to the connection to nature. If people had more free time, this want to travel, this need to travel, maybe that's what we need to do, is just become a...
nomadic.
Yeah, like we build these civilizations just so we can become, instead of nomads, we become tourists. Like tourists
that.
are the new version of nomads.
Step in evolving.
And everybody gets their turn.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
That would be nice. pushed a button. Man, I have to pee, and we've been at this about an hour.
Yeah, I'm ready to.
Shall we wander in? I've seen some people head that way.
Saw
Kind of want to go say
some
hey.
friends. I also have to pee.
So let's Auf Wiedersehen YouTube.